All right. Welcome to the Serious Angler Podcast. We are here to talk about everything bass fishing. Have a dang good time doing it. We are back with your bassin captain, Mr. Andy Full. And as always, I'm your host, Bailey Egbrett. We have we got a Canadian special for you tonight, Mr. Andy Full. Speaking of Canadian specials, you fished a recent Canadian Tire?
Yeah, the Canadian Tire. It's probably my favorite event of the year out of Niagara Falls, Ontario. 101 boats, and I still can't believe they sent us to the lake. It was massive on Saturday. I opted to wait a half hour before going, and it was still terrifyingly big. Like, I'm pretty sure a couple of them were like 8 to 9 foot rollers from the 50-mile-an-hour west winds we had the night before. And just they're spaced out like 15 seconds apart so you could run the troughs, but you're like down in the wave running 3/4 throttle because they were so wide and there was like no wind and you just saw water. And I'm just like, I'm gonna die. Yeah. But
I remember getting a text when you got off the water that day where you sent to me, you're like, I don't even know how I finished. All I know is I was the most scared I've ever been in my entire life.
Yeah, and I was straight getting it too. Like, I mean, being on the lake a lot, I don't think I've ever like pushed myself to go out in waves like that, and did not get seasick. Didn't even use a lean pole. I just manned up and took the wave ride for a life, and we caught a giant. We just didn't have anything to go with it, so but we caught one of the right ones.
Yeah, I couldn't even freaking imagine. I mean, I guess the only way to get comfortable doing that is to go do it. I mean, yeah, it's gonna be scary the first couple times, but I imagine to get comfortable doing it is. Where I think our first guest tonight, Mr. Cooper Gallant, I believe I've heard him say in the past. Where, I want to say it's on one of his videos where he said he prefers when it's big like that. Maybe I don't know if he said he enjoys it or what. We'll have to confirm when we get him on here, but. We got Mr. Cooper Gallant joining the show here to start, and then we have Mr. Pat Roach for any Trailer Park Boys fans. We got Mr. Pat Roach joining for the latter half of tonight. We're gonna have a lot of fun here, folks. We got a few things to go through before we get to that.
The first thing gonna be a Bubbles cameo appearance. Like, we get a little.
I guess we'll find out. We have a bunch of viewer questions that I have compiled here. That people put in, and there's some pretty good ones. So we're gonna hit them with that. That's for sure. We got some for Cooper as well, and we're gonna have a good time this evening, folks. But a couple things before we get into that was I want to give a shout out to our boy Mr. Alex Rudd. Last week he invited me on his live show Thursday night. Definitely see some names that were over there on that show as well. But we raised over $8,000 that night for the people in North Carolina and Tennessee that were impacted. Specifically, especially a group of kids from a school that Alex had donated a bunch of rods and reels to, and those kids helped raise some money for another cause. And it was really an awesome night to see the outpouring of support for people. Granted, there was some pretty damn cool stuff to give away, but raising freaking $8,000 is ridiculous in one night. Especially just we're sitting here in amidst all this craziness in the fishing industry. It was pretty cool to do something pretty positive, and you can still definitely help out. I have the link still down below if anybody wants to go and assist those in need if they're able to, and I'll keep those in the description for the few weeks coming forward. But it was pretty cool to see it. I wanted to shout that out because we gotta embrace the positive, in this fishing industry and see all the good the anglers and outdoorsmen that we can do. So it's pretty awesome. But
absolutely.
Man, I'll say one quick thing. I don't know if you guys have seen if you're tuning into Serious Angler Social, is we have a new partner to the show. One, especially going into 2025 that we're excited about. We already have announced it here. And this is for any of you folks pulling a truck or pulling a trailer or pulling an RV, anything of the sort, and that's road active suspension. Pretty cool deal, especially if you're experiencing some stuff like Andy's talked about with some sag in the back of the truck. This can help reduce that. And it's a pretty cool deal. We're going to be working with them on putting some content together and having some fun doing it for you guys. But pretty cool deal. And especially speaking to the choir for a guide like yourself, that's utilizing a trailer on your truck more often than without the trailer. This peak's pretty loud.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty fun to get those installed, right? And overall performance of towing should vastly improve, specifically like if you have a lot of weight in the boat and you're dropping the rear end of your truck down. If you have slippery conditions, that could lead to something catastrophic if your truck and trailer aren't leveled properly. So looking forward to that, so we can get a little bit more smoother ride and probably even improve the gas mileage a little bit as well, with having everything balanced really well. So yeah, I look forward to getting that installed in the truck, pull around the old Camus sled.
Yeah, it's going to be cool. So stay tuned to that. If you're looking to get invested into that, we do have a link down below where you guys can go save some dollars on it. We have a discount code below, as well as a link to there. So if you guys want to check it out, please do. Let us know if you do. And then lastly, we'll go through this throughout the show, but the new elite qualifiers, the new rookie class, if you will, for next year in the Elite Series, given that they all accept, of course, and go forward with it, has been announced. So congrats to the 9 that completed that and qualified for the Elite Series in 25. So another stacked rookie class. I'm not sure it could have been more stacked than last year, but it seems year over year consecutively, it's just like you look at the names and it's like, damn. So it's going to be cool to see next year, and we'll talk to Coop a little bit about that here in a second. But I'm not sure if there's been an updated leaderboard for the U.S. Open. But last I checked, after day 1, our boy Mr. Bryant Smith was sitting in second. There's Chris Zaldain in the top 5. It was pretty stacked.
Josh Bertrand, I think, was 7th, right, with 20 pounds.
Yeah, he was up there as well. Let me see. I'm trying to pull this up here quick on my phone to see.
Is that Mojave again?
Yeah, I believe so. Where is it? I don't think that. Yeah, it doesn't look like they posted it yet for day 2. But day 1, it had in your top 10. You had Kyle Grover, who seems like every time there's a tournament over there, he's in that mix. But you got Bryant Smith, Chris Zaldain, Josh Bertrand in 4th, Stephen Mack, Scott Hellison, Levi Sams, Luke Clausen, another big name, Chris Costello, and Kyle Gellis. So it's pretty diverse over there. Pretty dang cool. But something we'll keep in touch with and try to support here, especially on social. But some cool stuff happening in the bass world, especially what we're talking here with Coop about was the that PanAm championship and some of the different things that are going on with that, because I see it everywhere. It's hard to keep up with it almost, but we'll dive into that here. But Andy, I think without further ado, we should stop rambling and get our guest on here. You game?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
All right. Well, without further ado, let's get him on here. Mr. Cooper Gallant, what's going on, dude?
What's up, boys? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, man.
Loud
Are you in a
and clear.
hotel?
Yeah, I'm at a hotel. The Wi-Fi is not the best, but it seems like it's working pretty good right now. I'm closer to the window. I'm on the desk. I was on my computer earlier in that end of the room, and the Wi-Fi wasn't good. So maybe I'm just in a good location.
Well, so far so good on this end. So I think we're good. We're okay.
Good. How are you boys?
We're doing good, man. It's
Hanging
a
in there.
beautiful time here in the north, as you know very well, where the leaves are changing. It's sweatshirt weather, flannel weather. Like I think it's the time us northern folk are glad summer's over and we're happy with some cooler temps and the fishing's good. And it's kind of that primo.
The smallmouth are fat. The chromers are showing up in the streams, and it's a good time.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one thing I wish I could do more of is fish for steelhead in the rivers. That's what I grew up doing, and I used to do it so much. And now it's like I feel like I only get out like once in the fall, like right before it starts to ice up.
Yeah.
But man, that's so fun.
Is that what you're doing right now? Is that why you're on the road? Because you're filming your series, right?
Yeah, so I'm in North Carolina right now. Yeah, and we're doing some filming in Outer Banks starting this Friday. We're going to be there for a week. Got a big Airbnb. There's a bunch of friends and family are coming down, and we're going to film a road trip video and hopefully catch some giant shark and reds and stingray. And we did it a couple years back, but a little later. So we're hoping we're hitting it at a better time this time around. But yeah, it's a good time. Hang out on the beach and sling some dead bait out there and just kind of hang out with the boys and wait.
Heck yeah, dude.
So is that why you have the gallon of water, so you can be hydrated for the other festivities that come with hanging on the beach?
Yeah. When I'm on the boat, I usually just throw like 4 of these in there, and I went to go get a drink. I was gonna walk across the street to the gas station, like I might as well just grab a jug.
Fair enough.
Honestly, that's legit the way to go, though. If you think about it, you go and you see these cases of water that are like $15, and you go and see these gallons of water that are like 99 cents. It's a steal.
Yeah.
That's the way to go, man. Well, dude, I for one absolutely love that series on your YouTube channel, especially from a diversity standpoint. I love just the travel, the different what's the word for it? Intrinsic factor of that series, where it's just like more so the adventure than anything else. And I think you do a really good job bringing that part out. What I know, obviously, so Outer Banks, but are you trying to like notch off some different species and locations each year, or like what's the plan with that thing going forward?
Yeah, for sure. So for people that are watching that don't know what we're talking about, it's a series we do on YouTube. This is our 5th season already, which is crazy. And we do anywhere from 3 to 5 episodes a season. And basically they're just road trips. And they're films basically designed by myself and my brother Colin, designed to try and inspire other people to travel and scratch that next fishing adventure off their bucket list, to scratch that next species off their bucket list. And man, we've been to some pretty cool places. And going back to your question, that's the whole point of these road trips, is to kind of force ourselves to go to these locations we've always talked about going to. And this is a repeat. We've came here before, but this time around we're with a different group of people. We're fishing a different part of the coast. And but yeah, man, we've been as far south as Africa and Panama, and as far north as Northwest Territories. So it's pretty cool. We've been to a lot of cool places, and we love filming it all. You know, that's another passion that my brother and I have, is filming and getting behind the lens and documenting it all. And then my favorite part about it too, one of my favorite parts is, you know, when the trip's all over, I get to sit down and edit it all. So it's like I get to like relive the moment, you know?
Yeah.
And I edit all my tournament stuff too. They're fun when I catch them, but when I have to edit a video where I don't catch them, it's not the funnest. But these road trip videos, they're always fun to edit. And it's also cool too, because, you know, in 15, 20 years from now, we're going to be looking back at these videos with all the boys hanging out, catching fish and traveling. It's pretty cool, man. We like it. And like I said, the whole point of the series is to try and inspire other people to go to these locations and you know, fish for different species. I mean, you have a lot of people who just like fishing for bass, but there's so much other cool stuff to do out there. It's unbelievable. The opportunities are endless.
Yeah, that's the one thing I like to remind people is we live in this world of bass fishing, and while it's a very, I would call it loud crowd in regards to from a fishing world, especially from a freshwater standpoint, it's your fishing world is this, and bass fishing might be this.
Yeah, exactly.
At most, which is a good reminder. But what you're saying, Andy?
I was going to say, so what's like your next 3 bucket list trips to go film that you haven't done yet?
Yeah, so we got a lot. I want to do Africa again, and that's something I know my brother would really love to do, and I know a lot of other buddies would love to do that again. Africa, we really want to go to Alaska. Man, there's so many. Like I can't even think of any right now. There's so many. You know, Northwest Territories again, but somewhere different. It's gorgeous up there. Out west, the West Coast, all over the place. Northern Ontario. Like we have so many lakes in Ontario, and we're going to focus actually going into next year. We're going to do a lot more within Ontario, because Ontario is so big and we have so many lakes. Like we have hundreds of lakes that hasn't even seen a boat in 10 years. Like it's crazy how much water we have. So we're definitely going to explore Ontario a lot more next year. And yeah, there's so many places we want to go. Saltwater, freshwater, it doesn't matter what species. We just want to go fishing.
I'll tell you the one that stands out, and I've seen like, you know, John B do it back in the day, was that GT trip where you're going after them on big topwater plugs. That looks like not even really fishing, but more like hand-to-hand combat. That's what that looks like.
You got like the Great Barrier Reef where you can do it. You can do it in Hawaii. And then there's, I think it's like Sudan is another spot that you can go. But like, I think you can go there from Canada, but in the U.S. you can't go to like South Sudan and chase those things. It's really hard to get into that country. But yeah, that's bucket list. Golden Dorado too.
Yeah.
Gosh,
I want to do I want to do tarpon during the mullet run. That looks epic too.
Yeah, I want to get. Yeah, that'd be fun. Or a topwater tarpon.
Yes. Yeah.
That it'll ruin you. That's all I'll say. My first ever tarpon I caught was almost a 4-footer, and it was on top water, and it basically ruined bass fishing for me for the next few months.
Really?
It was just dumb. Like, it was one of those things where you weren't even expecting it. I was throwing a swim bait for them, and I was just burning it back. And when you burn it, obviously it comes up to the surface and skitters across the top. Not thinking, I'm talking to my brother, looking the exact opposite direction, until I hears this explosion, and I just look up, and I'm like eye level with a tarpon looking at me with my bait in its mouth. After that, it was fun as heck, dude. But,
no, it's like I said, there's so much stuff out there to experience and fish for, and locations. It's crazy. I have buddies who, like I said, that's all they do is bass, and like I'm trying to get them to like expand and come on these trips and try something different, you know.
Yeah, it sounds like Andy trying to get me to go try steelhead for the first time, and I just refuse because I keep chasing smallmouth instead.
Oh, dude, you got to. Steelhead fishing's amazing, man. It's amazing, especially in the fall when they're just starting to push in, and they're just the sexiest, most silver chrome fish you've ever seen. It's awesome.
You're not making this easier to reject Andy to go.
Yeah, gotta do it. Just go with him one day, and you won't regret it. Like, it's amazing.
Fair enough. Well, dude, and on this topic, I don't mean to totally sidebar this, but it seems like the multi-species, from a content creation standpoint, like take professional bass fishing out of the picture here. When from like a YouTube and content side, it seems like the multi-species, if you can stay open in regards to what you chase, it seems like your potential for growth is extremely accelerated. Where if you, and I guess this could be for any species, if you niche yourself, it seems like it's almost kind of a restraint. I don't know. Do you feel that? Like, do you see a lot more success on your road trip stuff versus the Elite Series tournament stuff?
Yes. Yep. And I'm not even just thinking more so me. I'm thinking about other, content creators. I look at some of the best content creators that fish tournaments, and then I look at some of the best content creators that fish for everything. And those multi-species guys tend to have a much bigger following on average. Simply for the reason of being that, there's, like you said, bass fishing's this big. In the fishing world, bass fishing's this big, and everything else is this big. So if you can do all of this, you're going to reach more people, right? So
yeah, 100%. I'm with that. I mean, look like a Jay Siemens, for example, like Jay Siemens that swims, opportunities that arise from that too, like working with Meat Eater, things like that.
Impressive. Jay's stuff is so good, man. Like some of those, like the longer films are the ones I really enjoy watching of his, like the ones he put a lot of effort into. Like when he goes up north and like does this fly and float plane adventure and films and he's so good. And he's such a good storyteller too. That's what makes it good as well. He's just good editor, good storyteller, and he's super unique that way.
Well, that's the biggest thing nowadays. It seems like even more so than just quality and, quantity of content is if you can't tell a story, it's hard for you to put consistent content out. Where if, like from a Jay standpoint, where he could probably have the same reach that he does filming everything from an iPhone. Whereas, he has fancy camera equipment because he understands it, but the storytelling, the chaptering of your adventure that you're going on, that is everything nowadays. It seems more than where it used to be back in the day. You could say 0 words to the camera and just go bass fishing for a day on YouTube and do pretty well. Where I think those days are long gone.
Yeah. And it, like, when someone can watch something and relate to it, and like the way Jay tells stories to it, like it almost feels like you're like there with him, So it's like people want to keep coming back to watch that because one, they can relate to a lot of it, and they almost like start becoming like, it sounds weird, but they feel like they're with Jay and they feel like they're buddies with Jay just by watching him. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like It's cool that way.
Yeah, 100%, man.
Get locked in on it.
Yeah. Well, man, I'm looking forward to seeing all that come out as you guys get that, content shot and produced and all that stuff. We'll be looking out for it. Again, if you, like Cooper mentioned earlier, if you're not tuned into that, his YouTube channel is linked down below for you guys in the description. I encourage you guys to go subscribe and keep up with his socials as well. It really is an awesome content series to keep up with. And I would put it in there in regards to like what Jay Siemens, like, it feels like you're there. I think you guys do really well put together job on that.
We're working on it. I mean, we're not at Jay's level, but we're
maybe not Jay's level, but you're above average.
It's like anything, right? You keep doing it, and and if you're passionate about it and you keep wanting to do better, it's just one of those things. Like, we enjoy doing it. We're not going to stop doing it. And, we're better than what we were 2 years ago, and we're just going to keep working at it. And hopefully one day we'll be really good at it. That's kind of the goal with it.
Heck yeah, dude. Well, that's a great segue into what I love to talk about now, and is your 2024 season. It seems like you're already really good. So it's like, so your 2024 season, at least your career so far on the Elites has already been really good. You haven't missed a classic yet. So I think so far the results are positive. The one thing I do respect the hell out of with you is when watching your tournament videos is like, dude, you'll like be just inside the top 20 cut, which with that field is really good, especially outside looking in, and you'll be like not happy with it. And I can resonate with that from like the sports world growing up, and I just appreciate the heck out of that. I don't know if some people can or acknowledge that part of it, where it's like you're almost seemingly annoyed that you're not doing better, even though you're in the top 20, which I just wanted to call out that I respect that competitiveness in you. But
yeah, it's, you always want to try. Like, once you make a top 10, I'll never forget the one time Matt Robertson told me, he's like, dude, he's like, when you make your first top 10, he's like, Mercer makes you feel like a king. Right. And then I made my first top 10, and like the whole experience with it all was so cool. And yeah, now it's at the point, it's like, I'm happy, obviously. Like, I might sound a little down on myself if I get a top 20 or 30 or 40 or 50, whatever. But, us as fishermen, you always want to do better. If you come second, you wanted to come first. If you come 20th, you wanted to get in the top 10. Like, no matter what, you always want to do better. And if you're not thinking that way, I feel like you got to be hungry to do better every single time, no matter where you finish, right?
Yeah, 100%, man. I'm trying to remember who it was. Gosh, this is gonna eat at me now because I'm drawing a blank. But essentially, the guy, I'm trying to remember who it was. I think it was last year on the Elites where he'd won the tournament, but he was still pissed about certain things that he'd messed up throughout that day. I'm trying to remember who it was. That's all they could take away from it. It was like, yeah, they won, but like, I could have totally screwed this up or whatever. And because like apparently their mechanics were off or something. I'm trying to remember exactly what it was, but I saw that and I respected the hell. I love that dynamic in some people that are just that. I don't want to call it perfectionist, but like they see, yeah, I might have won, but like I got a lot to work on still. I love that drive. I don't know. For me, I appreciate the hell out of that. And so I'm curious with you in the 2024 season. Obviously, another great year going back to the Classic, but what would you say is your biggest takeaway or learning lesson from this past year?
Biggest learning lessons from this past year.
Oh, you're making them think.
I know.
It's hard for Canadians, eh?
I think one thing, and this is something I've learned more and more every year, is just kind of just like chill out and not don't scramble. And again, this is something like I've been working on over the past few years, but I work more and more on it every year just to kind of relax more when I'm on the water, not get spun out, and not be afraid just to scrap everything and just go fish through water. I did that so much this year, man. Like, I'd be fishing and like going into the tournament, I'd be like, I'm gonna have a decent tournament, and it's like it all kind of fell apart, and it's like, all right, I got to just go fishing and figure something else out because I've done this way too many times. Just got to go with the flow, don't scramble, and just kind of chill out, go fishing and figure it out as you go. That's one thing that I really did a lot of this year. And like I said, I've been working on over the past few years, but I feel like I'm getting better at doing that. Just kind of just going. And then Yeah.
I feel like the big part of it is not getting locked on until what you'd found the previous days.
In my opinion, that's like one of the hardest things to do in fishing too, especially if you have like a good practice and you feel like you're on them and day one rolls around and it's just not working. It's so hard to like just get rid of it all and go fish new water, but it's like you have to, because fish are moving constantly and things are changing, and you got to move with the fish and not be scared to do that.
So
yeah,
I want to ask this one. Like, you're running from Waddington, right? Or you're making a 100-mile run. You got 4 hours to fish. How do you find yourself finding time to adjust with such short time to get 5?
Yeah, yeah, when you only have 4 hours, it's crazy. So that's just that leaves you like 4 hours to fish once you get out there, let alone when you're running around out there, right? So it goes by quick. Like, you get out there and you fish your first area. I remember this year, I'm like, holy, I looked at my clock. I got like 2 hours and I still want to go check like 10 other zones. So take away another 35, 45 minutes of drive, and I only have like an hour and a half left to fish. And so it's one of those things that's hard not to scramble when you're in a situation like that, when it's like time's ticking real quick,
right,
and you need to catch 5 big ones. But yeah, it's just one of those things. You gotta, like I said, you gotta try and calm yourself down and just roll with it.
Trust yourself.
Yeah.
It's crazy, the dynamic of region, where it's like an hour and a half you could have easily, high 20 pounds in the north, when you're talking about like Ontario and things like that, where it's like if you had that game plan of only 4 hours of fishing in Florida, you'd probably be screwed.
Yeah. At the same time, though, you could easily have 10 pounds too, right?
It's very true. Yeah.
I was talking to Chris about it the one day. He's like, dude, he's like, you could easily go out there and literally catch 2 6-pounders and not get 5 and have 12 pounds. Like, it's so easy to do that. And that's what's so crazy about making that run. And like I said, when you make that run and then run a bunch of different zones, once you get there, you have way less than 4 hours of fishing. And yeah, it goes quick. But that adrenaline and that rush, that's what fires me up. I like that.
Yeah, man. Well, dude, talking about that region, kid Dante from here in New York breaking the New York State record officially with that 9-pound smallmouth. I don't think anyone's shocked that it came out of Ontario, St. Lawrence. Are you?
No. No, not at all.
Yeah.
No.
I'm more surprised it took this long anyway to break.
I know, eh? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're grown differently out there, that's for sure.
Yeah. I think I'm more honestly surprised that Erie was the first one to have one over 10 than Ontario. I would have guessed Ontario would have been the first one to have.
I would have too, yeah.
Yeah. I wonder if it's because of the makeup of the lake, right? Like Ontario, the fish have such a limited amount of area that they actually live, as to where Erie, a lot of it, there's a lot more areas that they can kind of roam around and live. And I don't know, I think they're more concentrated up there, like the big fish in very specific areas, to where with Erie, they kind of have these big zones and they just wander, in my opinion. I mean, I don't fish enough up there to know, but
like, you are right. Like Lake Ontario, if you look at Lake Ontario on a map, it's like you've got the St. Lawrence, you have the mouth of the St. Lawrence. But as you start making your way west, there's like no smallmouth. So I live about 2 hours west of the mouth of the St. Lawrence. And if us three were to go fishing tomorrow and try and catch a smallmouth, we probably wouldn't catch one. They just don't live in 70% of Lake Ontario. And then when you get west toward Niagara Falls, there's some big smallies down that way. But it's basically the 2 miles of the river. And the main reason being is because the rest of the lake, you don't have those long sloping flats. It basically turns into like a big sand bowl. And smallmouth like sand, like you look at St. Clair, basically that's all it is sand bowl. But when you have a lake that's got sand, and then
everywhere
has fingers and rock, like they're gonna get to that stuff. So that's why they live like toward there. And then obviously because of the current and the river and everything. Right. But Yeah, you're right. Like they don't live in all of Lake Ontario.
Yeah, so where with like Lake Erie, you can go down the Canadian North Shore or the U.S. side, and literally you can catch a smallmouth on any rock pile you pull up on, as long
Or
as
in the middle of the lake.
Yeah, or in the middle of the lake with the walleye out in 100 feet
Yep.
of water. They're always somewhere.
100%.
Well, how do you feel about these claims this past year? More so led by Kyle Patrick, but that you're one of the biggest sandbaggers when it coming out of practice for tournament day.
Well, that's because I have terrible practices, man. I'm not even gonna talk to anyone about my practice anymore because everyone like even back home growing up and I think like with the elites, I did a little talk at one of our fishing clubs back home last week, and they asked me that question, and they were all calling me sandbaggers. They'd be like, "Oh, I picked you for I didn't pick you for fantasy because you said you had a terrible practice and you went out and caught them." But I think the biggest reason is like coming into the elites, we only get 3 days of practice. So when I'm fishing, like if I roll into a bay, for example, and I get 2 bites, typically I'm out of there. Like if I kind of get a clue or like even a little clue, I'll just leave. Because now I've got that clue, and then now I'm going to go look for other clues. And then I can put all my clues together by the end of practice. So, like, that one bay where I got 2 bites, like, 2 bites, that's not very good, right? Like, I only got 2 bites, but I left. Went to another bay, got 1 bite, I left. So, when I say I have bad practices, it's like, yeah, I had a bad practice, but I also didn't stay in an area and keep fishing, right? So then I go back to that bay in the tournament. It's like, holy, there's way more fish here than I thought. Right. So that's part of it. Right. Like when I say I have a bad practice, I never have a good practice and tell people I have you know what I mean? Like I would never.
That just means you're fishing though. That's a good thing. Yeah. You don't want to come out of a practice day like, yeah, I caught 50 fish today. Like,
yeah.
Like, okay, I don't have to worry about that guy tomorrow. You know,
when it comes to practice, the ones that always make me mad, specifically in smallmouth derbies, is when you stick one, you're like, oh crap, I need that fish in 3 days. And then you go check another one, you stick it, and you're just like, come on. But you have to know how big they are. Like live scope doesn't tell the whole story, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's like sometimes you can tell, but sometimes depending on how they're turned, like if they're facing toward you, if they're this way, you know, it can be kind of hard to tell it sometimes. But yeah, sticking them in practice is no fun. Big one.
And Bailey, I'm up to $3 now. I mentioned the evil thing.
Aha. Aha.
Call myself out. We got a swear jar for the forward talk.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, to quickly explain, because I actually do have a shout I'd like to do on this. So Cooper, so essentially what we did with a swear jar, you know, when you cuss, you put in $1 type of deal. We made that, but we did it with all this people bickering back and forth about forward face, and we mentioned if we put it in there, which now I got to put $1 in there, is if you mention it, you just put $1 in there. At the end of the month, we donate it to a charity. And so with that too, we also have forward facing, there's another die, shows in mind too, so we can rack up some of the dollars. So we're going to make some good out of it, make some fun out of it.
Nice, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, something cool. And we implemented it really heavily in the past couple shows because we talked about it as jokingly, but I'm like, screw it, let's just do this thing. And we did it with Ty Berger last week, and he mentioned it one time, and so he's like, "Oh, I'll send you the $1." And afterwards he messaged me and he goes, "Hey, send me your Venmo because I'll send you the $1." I'm like, "Dude, don't worry about it. It's literally $1. Like, we're good. Like, it's all good." I definitely would love to open it up for people that want to contribute to it, but after that, he found me on Venmo and sent $100 to go towards the help for the people in the Carolinas and Tennessee. So shout out to Mr. Ty Berger, stand up dude. But yeah,
sorry,
it's cool to see something like that help people.
What's it going to go toward? You don't know yet.
So right now, this past month, we can change it up per month of like where it's going to go to, who we can try to help. But this month anyway, we teamed up with Alex Rudd, because last week we did the live show where he had a school of kids that basically they lost everything in Tennessee with all the floods and everything like that. And we put it towards that. So for this month, we're going to try to help out with that cause and some of the people in the Carolinas. And last Thursday, we raised over $8,000 in one night.
Oh,
for that. So it was pretty cool, man.
Wow. Well, how about this? Every time I say it from now on in this podcast, I'll give you $10.
$10? Oh,
yeah.
Shoot. You better be on your toes then, pal. I might design some new questions now. That's awesome.
Is that Canadian currency or US dollars?
Yeah.
Yeah. Live scope.
How many Oonies and Toonies are we talking?
I'll give you $10. No, awesome. I'm game for it. I'll do it, man. 100%. It's going toward a good cause.
That's awesome.
I love live scope though. It's fun. It's $20.
It is.
He's forcing himself.
Once you start talking, it's hard to stop talking about it. Once you do start talking about it, but I'll try to derail the train here at least for a little while. And I wanted to talk about that PanAm games up in Canada, dude. Fishing with Gussie. What was it like teaming up with Gus?
It was fun, man. We had a blast. It was a good time. I've never fished with Gus, so it was real fun being in the boat with him and spending a few days. We had a day or 2 days practice, and then we fished the derb. And dude, it was such a well-run event, though. I mean, the weigh-in was good. The fish care was good. People showed up. The opening ceremony, there was like a live band, and there was people there. There was tent set up. There was drinks. There was kids. Tons of kids came by. And man, it was such a well-run event, and it was pretty cool too to meet all the other countries. Met a lot of people between all the spectators that came to watch the tournament, all the other countries, and man, it was good. Like, if I have an opportunity to do it again, I'm 100% doing it again. And yeah, it was awesome. It was amazing. Very well run. And really nice fishery. Gorgeous fishery. Tons of smallmouth. Catching big ones were hard. Like a 3-pounder was like a 5-pounder on Lake Ontario, or 5.5. So 3-pounders were gold. But like, I mean, so many bass. I don't think I've ever been to a place that had more smallmouth than there. The St. John River.
Like talking like 100 fish days? Like, what are we talking here?
Yeah, like you put your scope down, $30.
Sabotaging himself right now.
You just pan around, and like there's smallmouth everywhere, all over the bank, and you just flip over to them. And like Gussie, I was on the trolling motor a lot, and Gussie was kind of just fishing the bank as I was panning out deeper, and he was catching just as many as me, if not more at points. And like, it was just like nonstop. We went down this one riprap stretch, and it was crazy how many we caught on the bank, off the bank, but like hard to catch big ones. The average is like a pound and a half, but so much fun. Like, to take your kids out there would be a riot.
Yeah, those are the kind of fisheries where it sounds very much like the Adirondacks, where there's a bunch of lakes up there too that are like that, where it's just chock full of 1 to 2.5 pounders, where it's the more you learn about conservation, where it's like the more you keep the little ones, the bigger you can grow your fish. But it's also like, you actually want to keep the numbers, just because if you want to go have a day where you just catch the living snot out of them, it's a great place to go do that. And especially you're talking about like taking a kid fishing. If you want to get a kid into fishing, those are the places to freaking go.
Yes.
That's super cool, man. Did you guys take your boat or Gus's boat, or how all that work?
So we ended up flying down, and Jeff Wilson, actually the MC of the tournament, he let us hop in his boat. So he treated us like gold all week. It was awesome. Like, me and Gus would hop in his truck, and he had 2 Yetis full of coffee. And big shout out to Jeff.
Royalty treatment.
He was great, man, and he was super fun to hang out with. And so we used his boat. Big shout out to Jeff. He was awesome. Great MC too. He did a great job. He made everyone in the stands chuckle, that's for sure.
Fantastic.
It was cool to see the spectacle out of it, more so than just from your guys' socials, but see some of the different buzz created from it, and the different people that were keeping an eye on it. It's cool to see, and I really hope that can be something that can really grow into something much larger as we go forward.
For sure.
I really would love to get, like, it seems like Scott Martin from the US side seems to head a lot of like from the team aspect. It would be really cool to see what and dive into the organizations that put that together, get them on here. That way we can do some like lead up to these events and build some more hype to it.
Yeah.
Because it's great when it's happening. It's just more of like, it's almost like people don't know when it's going to happen until like it's happening. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it'd be really cool to assist with that. And maybe I'll work with you offline on getting in touch with whomever is operating that. And
yeah, I know the right guy. He would love to come on and tell you all about it. And there, like you said, it'd be cool to see it grow, and it is growing. It's grown over the past few years. It's getting bigger and better every year. So it's good. It's awesome and fired up. We're going to Africa next year. So top three teams from every country go to the Worlds. So the Worlds next year are in Africa. So that'll be pretty cool. And apparently
big bass.
Yeah, like 50-pound bags. Like giant bass. Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah, because there's like 2 or 3 big lakes over there that have just ungodly sized largemouth, right?
Yeah.
You just got to deal with hippos, I'm told.
They're at the Worlds right now, actually, in Italy.
I've seen that.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. So cool.
So how did that work with the teams then? So like how you decide who goes over there?
So you have all the countries that fished on the St. John in New Brunswick, right? So like Team Canada, US, China, Italy. So the top 3 teams who have the biggest weights over the tournament qualify for the Worlds. So if you're in the top 3 on your team, you go to the Worlds the next year. Yeah.
Hey, okay. That's cool. I'm looking. I've seen some of Scott Martin stuff on the Italy, and I'm very intrigued just to see the bass fishing in Italy. But Africa next year, that's gonna be freaking insane, man.
Yeah, it'll be pretty wild.
Yeah, it seems like
the second time it was in Africa, right? I think they have already done one there, or somebody did like some type of tournament over there. I feel like.
Yeah, they might have. I'm not too sure.
4 or 5 years ago, right before COVID.
I think I know what you're talking about, Andy. I want to say it was.
I know they did Scott. Yeah. Scott, he's been doing it for the past. This was my first year, so I'm still learning. But Scott's been with the team since it started, so he'd be a great one to have on and pick his brain about for sure.
Yeah, definitely. It seems like this year there's been like several people that are like, you know, with rather large followings in the industry that went to Africa to go fish. Whereas like it's become almost like another Japan where it's like we've seen everybody else and their mother go to Japan the past few weeks, it seems like, to go fish and shoot. A couple of MLF guys are over in China right now fishing a tournament. So it's cool to start seeing more countries pull in. I mean, we're talking international here, dude. You guys add another Canadian to the list for the elites next year, which is awesome to see.
Yeah. Evan Kung.
Yeah. It's growing, man.
Yeah. He's it was pretty cool watching him, man. And you know, I know what it's like. I was doing it 2 years ago, and I've been following him all year. I've been rooting for him, and to see him make it happen is pretty friggin' awesome. I'm happy for him, man.
So is he somewhat close to you? We got to get him on the show. Is he he like near you guys, or are you guys pretty spaced out?
Yeah, he's pretty close to us. Not to Gussie. Gussie's way north, but Gussie's in the North Pole. Yeah, I think Evan's like an hour from me. I'm not super close. I'm not super close to them. Just been talking with him over the past few years here and there, and yeah, he's a great guy, man. You should definitely have him on the show.
Heck yeah. I mean, dude, looking at, so we talked about it a little bit on the intro, but it seems like the past few years, the same trend of everyone saying like, oh, look out for next year's rookie class. Or like, it seems to be the same thing people are saying, like gets more stacked and stacked. And you're like, at some point it has to that trend has to stop. Right. But it seems like it hasn't happened yet. Cause like when you look at this, you got Evan Kung, we just talked about. You got Dakota Ebert, Tucker Smith, Andrew Loberg, Cody Meyer, Bo Browning, Easton Fothergill, Emil Wagner, and then I'm trying to remember who the other one was here. I'm trying to read off this list. Like, holy smokes, dude! It's got to be one exciting for you guys. Paul Marks, there we go. Excuse me on that. it's got to be exciting to see that from a competitive standpoint, but also like, holy smokes, we got to deal with Easton Fothergill and Cody Meyer now. And it's like, I don't know. How's that feel like watching all these guys that, I mean, especially like a Cody Meyer and, like growing up, seeing him compete. How's that like now when you see these guys get back on the Elite Series?
No, it's cool, man. It's awesome. I know a few of those guys and they're great dudes. I like it, and I like seeing it get harder and harder every year because it makes me work harder and harder,
Yeah.
No, I love it. I love it. Keep them coming. It's good. It's good. It makes us work harder.
Yeah. Hopefully you guys will have a whole, convoy, I guess, of Canadians going down now. It seems like the groups of people from different countries are growing. More Japanese guys are getting in there. I love seeing that international presence over here. I think that's awesome because I think really when we talk about the growth of the sport, right? I think bass fishing has grown very well in the States. I think some could argue that it's grown like to the point where I don't know how much more we could grow because it's not like basketball or football where we can go build another field or an arena. But there are other countries where there's a lot of opportunity to grow because you bring in, Carl from Australia, you got more Canadians joining, you got more people from Japan and other countries that are coming to watch. That's additional eyes that come to you guys, which I think for any brand, especially talking non-endemic, when they hear you're international, that perks their attention a little bit more, and
absolutely.
Yeah. It's cool to see all that come into fruition. But so one of the things I wanted to ask earlier that I was I didn't mean to cross over, but when you're doing your content series for the road trips, how much crossover do you see or learning do you see from going after all these different species that translate back to fishing on the Elite Series, if that makes sense?
Yeah, like do I learn stuff, say fishing for lake trout when I go bass fish? Not really. Like there's nothing that pops in my head where I'm like, yeah, I learned this fishing for Lakers and I do it for bass now. But I think there's something to be said about just like always fishing. Doesn't matter what you're fishing for, just having a rod in your hand and like being in a boat as much as you can. It doesn't matter what you're fishing for, just keeps you like in tune,
Yeah.
It just keeps you going and things start to click quicker when you're on the water. Again, doesn't matter what species, things just click in your head and you can make decisions faster, I feel like. So I think that is what helps me by, doing these road trips and fishing for pike, muskie, carp, it don't matter. Because, when it's no different, like muskie fishing, lake trout fishing, fishing for walleye, like you still have to make decisions based on conditions and, you got to figure out where they move and things like that, right? So you're always thinking. And when you're always thinking, things just come a little bit more natural, I think. And you can just make those on the fly decisions without thinking twice.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I've always been curious. Yeah, definitely. And I've always been curious about that because you hear of these stories now and then where a guy gets something from steelhead fishing when it's for smallmouth or something along the lines of that, where I always find that intriguing, which entices me to want to go fish for other species. But then again, at the end of the day, I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, I just want to go for bass. But it's definitely an aspect that I always get curious about. It's kind of along the same conversation that I enjoy having, and I think do resonate when you talk about, which is definitely for now when we talk about how much more time anglers out in the water versus guys that are taking time off to go bow hunt. Where I do think that there is when we're talking about big bass, I do think there's a correlation between big bass and big bucks, but that's a whole side tangent that will go on for another hour if we do that. But I always like seeing the crossover and the relevance and how you can take things that if you stay so mainstream just one species, you might get locked in and zone in on that. Where if you can, what you're doing, Coop, where it's all these different arenas, you can kind of find some crossover there. But I think I like what you're saying though, where it keeps you in that zone. It's kind of similar on the lines of, Rick Clunn's total immersion deal, where it's, when you keep yourself in the zone, you're way more prepared going into the season.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I get asked the question a lot, like, when do you know when to leave and when do you know when to go do this? And it's like, I don't have an answer to it. I just do it. Like I don't know. It's just something clicks in my head. A lot of time I don't even know what clicks. It just does. And I just go, It's weird. I don't even know how to
It's
explain
kind
it.
of just like it's not even really gut feeling. It's just kind of like you have this natural clock when you understand that things aren't buzzing the way they're supposed to be buzzing.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, it's weird, but
I like it. Well, dude, so one of the questions I wanted to ask you this. We'd asked Keith Carson this, and I'd love to kind of keep this train going to see what different answers we get. But right now, in your opinion, again, there's no right or wrong answer to this, but who do you think the top 3 bass pros in the world are right now?
top 3 bass pros in the world. Oh, I'm bad for this. It's funny because I'm not like a stats geek. I don't keep up with all that really. But obviously Jacob Wheeler for sure. You can't argue that. Like he's won more money, I think, than anyone in the past 5 years, probably. Man, I don't mean to sound biased, but Corey's over the past 3 years, if you look at his results, are insane. Same with Chris. Like they've been in the top 5 in Angler of the Year, I think, and more than none. So. I'm pretty sure. I don't know, man. There's so many anglers. I can't.
It's a very hard question, and again, that's why I say not.
Those
right or
are
wrong,
like 3 that came to mind, just because, like yeah. But I'm not very good with stats and keeping up with who's
who and doing what.
Yeah. Like I don't know.
I like it because it's all it is. It's a question of perspective. It's not a question of fact because it's again at the end of the day, like you're talking between somebody else versus you're not talking, Cooper versus Chris Johnson. You're talking about Chris Johnson versus the fish on that day versus Cooper against the fish on that day. So that's why it's always a weighted question. But I think when you dive into the numbers, like if you want to have a 5 names that are the most consistent in the past several years, Wheeler, the Johnson brothers are going to be on there for sure. I think when you have like a weighted of, your event finishes, I would argue, I have to, fact check this obviously, but I want to say the Johnson brothers, since they got in the elites, have been in the top 10 AOI almost every year, if not every year. I have to look at that, but
like they're
unreal.
Yeah. It's insane. I think don't quote me on this. Maybe look this up when we're done here. I think one of them was the fastest to get to 1 million in tournament earnings. Don't quote me on that. I could be
ever
wrong.
Amongst all anglers.
Yeah, I could be thinking about someone else. Maybe I don't know.
I know they did have like a 2-year run in the
maybe I messed that up completely. But
Here's what I'll do. I'm gonna text Ken Duke.
Just ask AI. AI knows all.
No, we're not gonna. We're not doing that. We're gonna go to the fishing encyclopedia himself.
Like I said, I could be totally wrong there, but for some reason that thought came in my head. But yeah, find out because I'm curious.
Usually Ken's really fast to answer, so we'll see what he says here.
Cool.
That wouldn't surprise me. That's for dang sure. That would not surprise me. But dude, we're gonna wrap up here in a second. And one of the things for you guys is, dude, you guys are, when we talk about pro anglers, there's always the half joke, but really part serious of you guys are part-time fishermen, full-time truck drivers. So you guys put a lot of road time on. I'm curious, this past year, does anything stand out of any crazy road stories that you got from
crazy road stories? I'm laughing because there was a lot more when I slept in my truck, and I still do, like when I'm on the road here and there. But like when I did the opens, I've got a lot of stories on the opens. Even before the opens, like just sit in my truck. One time I almost got my truck towed, and I was like sleeping in it still, and I had some guy bang on my door at like 2 a.m. He had his tow truck like ready to tow me away. It was at a Walmart, and which is weird because I've slept at like 30 different Walmarts, and apparently that Walmart you weren't allowed to. And he was gonna tow me, and what I did is I parked under like those mall cops or those cameras in the parking lot. I'm like, oh, I'll park here. No one's gonna rob my stuff. There's a camera there, and so they saw me on camera pull in, and then I guess they called, and the tow guy comes to tow me, and I'm still in my truck sleeping. I got a lot of I got a lot more stories when I fished the opens. Plugging into places I shouldn't have to get power. I couldn't afford to.
Part of it though.
Yeah, I couldn't afford to. I remember one time I plugged into a church. And I'm like, all right, I got to be up at 8:00 as church starts. And I ended up sleeping in. It was pouring rain, and the priest knocked on my window and woke me up.
Oh,
everyone's coming to church. And I get up. I'm like, rolled the window down. It's raining, and he was a little upset at first, but he forgave me. It was all good. I can't think of I got a lot, but I can't think of any off the top of my head. But a lot of it was to do with me sleeping in the truck and just in sketchy places and places I probably shouldn't have that I haven't even told my parents because I know my mom would freak out on me. She's probably watching right now.
Yeah, so you're gonna get a call after this for sure.
Yeah.
Now, is she coming down to North Carolina to fish with you?
She is not. It's a boys only trip.
Wow.
She's a little upset about that, but she came last time, so no, boys only. I think there's about a dozen of us. My brothers. Matty Robertson's gonna swing by for a few days.
Oh boy.
So that'll be interesting. And a bunch of other buddies. It'll be a good time. Hopefully we can catch some big shark. We got some big reels. We're bringing a kayak down, so we're gonna be able to paddle all our baits out and hopefully catch a 10-footer. That's the goal.
Dude, I've never had the hair stand up on my neck more than when my brother and I were night shark fishing down in Florida and pitch black. Didn't think to maybe bring a light on the kayak, and I'm pedaling out these bleeding baits to go drop them out a couple 100 yards.
Yeah.
And didn't think hey, it might be a little windy too in these waves. And thankfully I got to and from fine, but I'm sitting there, I'm like, this little crappy $200 Walmart kayak that is it's basically leaking fish scent and blood right now. And I'm like, this is top 10, one of the dumbest things I've done. So it's definitely worth it for the story, but it's a very common thing, I feel like, though, when you're shark fishing, but it's definitely a little wild. You just do the whole black tip H, use the drone to drop it off.
I know. We actually have one, but it's not. It won't be able to carry out big baits. We can probably fly out half pieces of mullet, but we won't be able to carry out a full whiting or anything like that. We're gonna have to yak those ones out. Yeah.
Well, I'm looking forward to the content on that, buddy. That's for
Thanks, man. We're pretty excited for it, and hopefully we can catch some big ones.
I'm sure you will.
Yeah. Well, buddy, last question I got for you. We'll end it on a fun one and a quick one for you. So we got to take Gussie out of the equation because you guys were already team partners. But one other person on the Elite Series that you'd fish a team tournament with, who would you pick first?
That I'd fish a team tournament with on the Elites. Whew, that's a good one.
Are you weighing who's going to get mad the most? If you
no. I'm thinking. I don't know. Someone that would make me laugh all day. Someone like Matt or Kyle Patrick or, someone that would just go out and have a good time with,
Yeah, I feel like you and Kyle specifically would just be a tale of two polar opposites, where it's when you catch a fish, you seem very collected, very mechanical about all your movements, where Kyle, it's just utter chaos ensues.
Oh, yeah.
Around the boat.
Yeah. Kyle's
Kyle.
I've always said Kyle's one of my best buddies on tour, and it's I don't think I could room with him though. I love him. I love him. I would do anything for him, but I don't think I could room with him because we're complete polar opposites when it comes to that. When I get back, I'm just chilling, rigging rods, and he's like this constantly, right? He last year on Murray, when he's still doing the opens, I got him to camera boat and follow me around on Murray, and he stayed with us and he's like that. For people that are watching, he's like that 24/7. In the morning, he is up, and when he wakes up, his eyes are like this.
No coffee needed.
He's ready to go. But no, he's awesome, man. He's
charged.
Yeah, I'd like to fish a derby with Kyle.
I think that needs to happen. That would be good.
Yeah.
Have so I'm gonna let you go here in a sec, I promise. And we're gonna get to part 2 of the show here. But have I ever told you about the first time I fished with Kyle?
No, I don't think so.
So this one you won't be surprised in the slightest. But this is probably like 6 years ago, maybe. It was like a couple years before he hopped into the opens, and he's fishing a lake near me, and we're going out and we're practicing whatever, and we're like going down this one stretch. I'm like, yeah, usually there's good milfoil here. I think it's just harder ground, whatever. We're just chatting through things. He goes, oh, okay. He goes, I'll be right back. And I thought maybe he's just going to the back of the boat to go to the bathroom, whatever. And I turned back around, and he's got his shirt off. He's taking his flip flops off and everything, and he's pulling out goggles from his center console and just jumps in without any warning. Didn't say anything. Just jumps in, swims to the back. It's been like 30 seconds, and I'm like, is this dude coming back up?
With
and
goggles, like, what was he trying to like look at something, or
he was looking at the bottom? He comes back up. He goes, dude, it's crazy down there. And like, he telling me all that. Pops back up, doesn't put his clothes back on, keeps fishing. And I'm just like, this dude's on another level, and here he is on the Elites.
Yeah, that's Kyle.
Yeah.
Doesn't surprise me one bit.
The fruit bat.
Yeah, the fruit bat.
So good.
Yeah. Well, Coop, dude, thank you so much for taking the time out, man. I apologize. It's been so long since we've had you on the previous show that we from the first one. But dude, I'm looking forward to all the content coming up this weekend from the Outer Banks, man.
Yeah, man. We'll keep you posted. I'll be on the Instagram all week and posting some stories. And yeah, thanks for having me on, boys. I love doing the podcast and talking fishing. It's always a good time.
Heck yeah, bud. You always got a seat over here. Appreciate
Give me your Venmo so I can transfer that $40.
Yeah. I think you're at 30. You're at 30. We're good there.
All right. Perfect.
All right. Appreciate it, Coop. We'll talk to you soon, man.
Thanks, guys. See you, boys.
All right, folks. There you have it. Our Canadian special kicked off by Mr. Cooper Gallant. Such a good dude. And I got a fun guy to root for, an easy guy to root for. I think everybody can agree that Coop's one of the easiest guys to root for on the Elite Series and just in general. Seriously, guys, if you're not subscribed to his YouTube channel, you need to. Down below, check out all the different content he's got, especially this road trip series where he's fishing for everything under the sun. If it has fins, chances are they're trying to catch it. So that's pretty dang cool. Appreciate him taking time out, and appreciate him hopping into our little swear jar series that we're doing here, which is it's pretty cool, man. But the show's not over here. We still got a whole nother guest lined up here that we're gonna have a fun time with, and I see him down in the queue right now rocking a mean old stash, which I respect the hell out of. So we're gonna get him on here in a second, but before we do, we got a quick message from Hobie Eyewear, and we'll be back with Mr. Pat Roach.
I have to have the best eyewear.
My eyes are essential to doing my job.
It's the highest quality lens that I've ever used.
Top of the line performance in these glasses.
But they're priced for absolutely everyone. The everyday angler can afford them.
As a touring professional pro, if I can depend on them, I know the weekend angler can as well. Hobie Eyewear, built for the pros.
Price for everyone.
All right, folks, we are back and back for part 2 of the show tonight. We have a fun one for you. And big thanks again to Mr. Cooper Gallant for taking time out to come on and chat with us, learn a little bit, but also really catch up and just see what's going on in the life of some of these Elite Series pros and the craziness in the world of bassing. We have another guest for tonight, one that we have seen already in the bassing podcasting world. Shout out to Mr. Dave Mercer, who got Mr. Pat Roach here on the show. But let's bring him in here. Mr. Pat Roach, what's going on, man?
How you doing, guys?
Hey, good evening.
Can
First
you hear
off,
me all right?
Yes, sir. You're loud and clear. I'm surprised it's not more muffled by that giant stash you're rocking right now.
I know. It's hide some of the sound. That's right. I think it looks good though. You know?
Yeah, I'm with it. I like it. I like that you're rocking it.
That's right.
Well, so we talked about it in the intro to this, Pat, but we called this the Canadian special, obviously, because both you and Coop coming from the Great White North. But For folks that are tuning in, and maybe for whatever reason they live under a rock and haven't watched Trailer Park Boys, which if they haven't, they're missing out big time. Has it always been Canada for you, man? Is that where you're born and raised?
Yes, yes. Born on the east coast of Canada in Halifax, Nova Scotia. And a lot of us still live out here, and we've been able to do the Trailer Park Boys and stay East Coast proud. It's nice to be able to work where you live, and of course we do go on the road and do things where we do travel and get to see all kinds of great places. But it's always nice to get back home.
Yeah. I mean, shoot, hometown of Sidney Crosby. I can get down with that.
That's right. That's right. And Nathan
I had to throw that
McKinnon
in
too.
there.
Yeah.
Nathan
What's that?
McKinnon. Nathan McKinnon. He's
you guys are
also
just
from the East Coast. There's a lot of good East Coasters that love the hockey.
You guys are just turning out hockey legends over there, eh?
That's what it's all about. Now I didn't play hockey. I used to figure skate, believe it or not.
Really?
Yeah, I did. And my father and my uncle, they were big into doing figure skating. And back in their time, they would go and do dances with the girls. So they enjoyed that. So I was like let's say I was a husky kid in grade 6 and 5 trying to figure skate. My father was a little frugal. So he would buy the girls' skates that were white and spray paint them black. So whenever I hit the boards or something and scuffed them up, the white would shine right through, right? So I wasn't very good at twirling, but anyway, I can still do some cross cuts. So I feel all right about that.
That's awesome. I mean, hey, if somebody's messing with you while you're figure skating, you just throw a little body in there. That's all.
There you go. That's the whole idea. So I didn't last too long after that.
I love it. Well, Pat, so on the show, whenever we have our guests on for the first time, it's their first time here on Serious Angler. What we like to do is throw it back to the very beginning of how they even got started in fishing in the first place and who's to blame for this. And so along that lines, we're talking figure skating here. We're already talking about the young Pat Roach. How the heck did you get into fishing in the first place? We'd love to hear the story, man.
Well, it would be my father that got me into fishing years and years ago. Like he used to go with my uncles and some other friends. They'd go and backpack right through the woods to an old cabin in the woods that would have some a river and a lake with a whole bunch of just boats that would be stashed in the woods. And with paddles and whatnot. I don't know if they had life jackets or not, but they get out and just catch some trout and then bring them home to the family to prove that maybe they did fishing and weren't hitting the alcoholic beverages too much back in the backwoods, you see. But
or both.
It could have happened. It could have happened. But I remember I would have been, I guess, around 10 years old when my father bought the first tinner boat that we had, a 12-foot Springbok aluminum boat. And he had this monster engine for it. It was a 1.2 horsepower Sears and Roebuck gas-powered engine, and it took 2.5 cups of mixed gas. And had a little thing you had to turn the gas on and just give it a couple pulls and, sounded like a chainsaw, air cooled. You could spin the motor right around, right? Like you just on a swivel. If you wanted to go reverse, you just had to point it the other way. So, we would go up a very long lake. It took forever, but you know what? Those are good times with my dear old dad, so it's pretty good that he started me off on that, just getting into fishing down at our cottage. We have a cottage that's about half an hour away from Halifax, and you can catch some bass and some white perch, and like in the winter you could catch some pickerel. I never did that, but now the ice doesn't seem to get thick enough to get out there. It's the climate's changed a little bit. So but I do go fishing every year with some of the guys from Trailer Park Boys. My buddy JP, who plays Julian, and Rob, who plays Ricky, we've been going on an annual fishing trip since we've been 18. It's been 30 years that we go out Pictou County way, and it's the May long weekend. We all go out and we get our fishing licenses, and then just go catch some little trout and stuff, and it's always a ton of fun, So
Yeah.
I can't believe we've been doing it for that long, and we look forward to that every year. You don't even have to have it written down on the calendar because you know when it's coming.
Yeah. Shoot, a little less about the fishing, more so about just the time.
Oh yeah, we're just getting out in the outdoors and enjoying ourselves. And it used to be that we get snowed on. You'd be a long weekend. You'd sometimes wake up and there'd be snow on the ground, and you would not be too happy about that. But maybe that meant the black flies weren't going to come out. But it always seems like when the black flies come out, that's when all the fishing's really good. It's just the way it goes.
Yeah, no kidding. So, I mean, I got to think around now, you guys are getting pretty dang cold up there, huh?
It's starting to get a little bit cold, but I mean, we're in Celsius, like 10 degrees Celsius here, 15 degrees. So, but this is the time of year where I know that my buddy who got me into doing some bass fishing and whatnot, he goes fishing for striped bass this time of year when the water gets colder. And he caught a nice one, a 13-pound, 36-incher tonight. Sent me the little video and some pictures, and made me, I don't know, was it jealous or envious? I guess envious that he's out there, but it always makes me happy to see, So he actually invited my wife and I over to his place for supper about a week ago, and he had some striped bass in his freezer and cooked it up, and I'd never tried it, and it's a delicious fish, really tasty. Sort of like a cross, I think, between like a haddock and a halibut kind of, but it's a nice white fish, big, thick fillets. Oh, I'm telling you, I'm getting hungry here. Getting hungry.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Me too.
Yeah, you're making that over here as well.
That's right.
Thanks.
Have you found like that one? I know because when you've been posting content for a while, I saw definitely the increase in the fishing content, which absolutely love, man. Keep that up. I think everyone is really enjoying the heck out of it. Have you found one that you desired to go after more than others, species wise?
Well, you see, this all started just my lovely wife Kelly was like, I think you should put some stuff up on your Instagram about you fishing. And I said, well, why would anyone want to see me fish? And she talked me into trying it, and then sure enough, all these wonderful fans are like, this is awesome, I fish too. And I just didn't realize like how many folks out there do fishing and like fishing, so just by doing that, we start to, around here, I just go to some lakes very close by. We're talking 5-10 minutes from my house, and throw the little bass boat in and catch mainly smallmouth bass in these lakes and some pickerel. But the smallmouth bass, there's a lot of fun to catch. It doesn't matter how small they are. They're fighters, and they're aggressive. Totally different than a trout, Their throats seem a little picky, they're but the bass are like, you're in my territory. I'm gonna take a bite at whatever you're throwing at them, which is really neat. So I just have a ton of fun getting out there doing that. Now, since starting the journey with the Pat Roach official, I'm getting invited to go fishing by all kinds of different friends, to go, say, going out on the ocean, for instance. I'm a little bit scared of the ocean. Just lakes are easy for me, but boy, when the ocean, you have to know what you're doing, and you have to be prepared. And it's interesting because you watch Trailer Park Boys. My good old pal John Dunsworth, he plays the character Mr. Leahy, one of the best pretend drunk actors in the world, let me tell you. And he lived right on the Atlantic Ocean. out in Southwest Cove here, and whenever he would go out, he would always call a neighbor and say, "We're just heading over to Peggy's Cove. We're probably going to be back home around this time." Just to let people know that you're out there and whatnot, because if something happens, you gotta have some help, And I mean, cell phones are great and all that, but boy, it's on a little lake. You don't seem to get the waves that the ocean has, but I would still like to get out on the ocean. And I know that Rob, who plays Ricky on the show, is taking me out, and we've caught like pollock and cod and mackerel. But I've had some folks want me to come go tuna fishing, which would be amazing. Heck, I'd like to get out and do lobster fishing. I've seen it like, and on film, but I'd like to go out on a lobster boat and just be part of the whole thing. And boy, if you got to eat some lobster, geez, I'm getting hungry again, fellas. I don't know, but
I think you're doing it to yourself over here.
Yeah, but I think it's just so interesting to see, because there's, everyone has their own little tricks, and you can always learn some of these tricks. You might not remember them all, but you can always learn from someone, and they can teach you little ways. And all of a sudden, like again, they call it fishing, they don't call it catching. So you have to try different things, and then it's just a bonus when you catch something, right? You're enjoying the day and being out on the water. Now, I've never tried the kayak fishing like I see you doing, which is, it looks amazing, but I'm just sitting there going, I don't know. I think, I don't know. My belly would make me roll over in the kayak and seeing, unless I didn't catch the big ones, but just how you can take the net and get the rod with the line just right and scoop the fish up. I'm telling you, it's a little bit of a ballet by the looks of things, but it looks like it's fun. It looks like you can go anywhere. You can just scoot, but I don't think like you said, I was watching you before. I would not want to be going out at night with a bunch of bloody bait with sharks around. No, thank you. That's too much for me.
Yeah. I think I'm gonna opt out on the next time that opportunity is in front of me.
Until you're there. You're going.
Yeah, I'm gonna volunteer somebody else's tribute to go and take that kayak ride out there versus me. I've done that too many a time. But yeah, it's a little bit of an orchestra in the kayak, but you can make your adventure whatever you want of it when you're in a kayak, which is pretty cool. But man, so we have we put it on the story last night for people that are tuning in to tonight. Some of different fan questions. So there's one that you brought, Mr. Leahy, here. So I'm gonna start with a question that refers to this one. So these are pretty funny, so it should spark some interesting conversation. So Hidden River Journal asks, how many cheeseburgers does Randon eat to bottles of liquor Leahy drinks?
Oh, the ratio. That's a good ratio. Well, I mean, Mr. Leahy, I think, could drink more than the amount of cheeseburgers that I could eat, because he could just take the big bottle and just open his throat and drink it down. Randy does chew. So, well, I bet you I could get probably 2-3 burgers to his one big bottle, something like that. If I went fast, right? That's the thing. But I try to enjoy them. You got to enjoy things and chew your food, because that's important, right?
Yeah. So they say anyway.
They choke.
I actually tried chewing my food. I think someone said you're supposed to chew it 30 times each bite, like mouthful of food. And you try it, it's like, man, this is taking forever and
exhausting.
And then I did it for a day, maybe 2, and then I said, I don't know if I could do this.
I want to know what you can chew for that long before it like completely breaks down into mush, right?
Yeah, not yogurt. Yogurt's not really a chew food, but yeah, you're right. It does break down to mush. Like, you need steak, like a piece of bread 30 times. Boy, it's pretty much mulched. That's for sure.
So, Pat, I know on Mercer's podcast you had with him, which was a great show. Encourage people to listen to that one as well. We won't dive in too much of the conversation that you had with Dave for the sake of not duplicating. But what I do want to know is I know there's a lot of trailer park fans in here. I know all my college buddies that are sent me a message like, "Oh, you're having Randy on the show?" I know I'd be remiss if I didn't ask of what were some of the times, like the inception of the TV show, like Did you guys think it would ever be as big as it became? What in the early, inception of it?
No, we didn't, Bailey. It's one of those things that when it first started, I still had a full-time job. I was selling water, and I was a regional sales manager for a bottled water company, and I was using vacation time to film. And I mean, it was just fun. Like, we couldn't believe that we were doing it, and we just a lot of us were friends, and then some of the other cast brought in. It became like a family, is what it was. But it took a few seasons. It took a little while to get going, like it was on a network in Canada. It was called Showcase for the first, I think, say 6 seasons, 7 seasons, something like that. And things changed once the boys bought it and it got on Netflix, because that put us around the world. Once everyone started to stream things, and it blows my mind how many fans that we have around the world. I think it's in like 180 countries or something like that, which it's been translated. I can't believe it. So there's people out there that know what I look like in my underwear, and they know that I like to fight without my pants on. And but it's our fans. We have a great fan base. They are the best fans, and they support us, and they're loyal, and they just like to laugh, So, but we had no idea it was going to go to the extent where people will mimic the characters, or they know the episodes, off by heart and things like that. So it's flattering, it's unbelievable to think, like so many people actually, I think I saw on your Instagram, you had caught a fish and it had Bubbles' voice talking or something,
Yeah. Yep.
that's a big one,
Yeah.
boys, or something like that, So it's
Yeah.
like
Step aside, boys.
yeah, like that's really cool when you think about it, to think that, like, I love that when people, if they go to work and they're doing Rickyisms or talking like Leahy, or maybe they say like Randy, hey, frig off or whatever, because then you don't get in trouble, because it's
Yeah.
it's parental friendly type thing, child
Right.
friendly. So, but it's just, that's flattering when you're mimicked, and when people remember that, and then, I mean, they love the characters. At one
Yeah.
time, I didn't really like the fact that I didn't have a shirt on. It was cold, and I didn't like my body anyway. But now I just don't care. But it's like, I'm glad now, because that's what made Randy an iconic character. Was, like, Mr. Leahy had his sort of safari kind of hunter clothes on, and basically I just had the tight white pants and no shirt. Like, that's Randy wouldn't have been as funny without not wearing a shirt, right?
Yeah.
He's allergic, of course, or allergic to fabric on his upper body. I don't know why, but he just
Yeah.
gets hot. He breaks out in a rash, but yeah, I had no idea it was going to go to where it's gone, and it's. And actually, I mean, we're to a point now where a new movie, a Bubbles movie, On the Shoulder of Kitties, is coming out in theaters December 6th. So that's right now. It's in
Hey.
Canada and the United States. So that's a movie that we filmed last summer, and it's being edited. And it's where he starts up his own little band called Bubbles and the Rockers. That was my parental advisory barmping, so
Yeah.
that's pretty cool to think that we have another movie coming out, so fans can check that out. I think the
Heck yeah.
trailer was coming out today, if not today, tomorrow, so it'll be something for
Awesome.
everyone to look for. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude. And when you're talking about being in your underwear and people seeing that, I mean, it sounds. I don't know if you've been introduced to Mr. Matt Robertson yet, one of the pro anglers, but you guys have one in common there, where he's been known to be on a live bass fishing stream, fishing in his underwear, tighty whities. So it's hey, he's an ugly stick guy. So it sounds like you guys should be introduced here. Get you guys on the water together.
I do own a few ugly sticks, because they are the toughest rod going. And one of my buddies, actually, from Ontario, Austin, he said he loves his ugly stick because he closed his tailgate and got the tip of it caught in the tailgate and it didn't break, which that's amazing, really. I mean, I think there must be some fluke there, but that's a tough fishing rod for sure, if that could happen. But yeah, Unreal.
I've always said there should be. You ever seen what rage rooms are?
Where it's all like a padded room and you can just beat stuff up or
Yeah, you just
break
put on
stuff.
goggles with a baseball bat and go to town.
Oh, that'd be fun. Yeah.
I've always said that you could have an ugly stick would probably be the only rod. You could have a rage room and use an ugly stick to break everything.
Yeah, maybe for pinatas or something, you start whipping the ugly stick. It breaks
Yeah,
the thing
sounds
open in
about
the
right.
candy. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
Well, dude, so looking back, I mean, with that crew and everything that you're still, now to this day, you guys are going on yearly fishing trips and everything. It's great when you have a group like that. But looking back on the years of the shows, is there one episode that stands out? I know we're getting away from fishing talk here, but the fan in me has to ask, does one episode stand out to you?
I mean, I've got to be honest. All the episodes were a ton of fun. It's you get to play with all your best buddies. But I like the season where, my barbecue was stolen, and and Bubbles. That was what Ricky, Julian, and Bubbles were doing. They were stealing barbecues, and I remember Bubbles has this little go-kart and a wagon, and then they had the barbecues and everything piled on the wagon. The art department, they probably used fishing line to tie it to keep them from falling off, because I don't know how else, unless they welded them on there or something, because they were just on there. It looked like a Dr. Seuss movie. But I love that episode when Bubbles had water wings on the barbecues. It was just rifling them off the end of the dock, and they were floating just semi-submerged, so that they could retrieve them after the cops left. So I thought that was using some science, some good science to the thievery. But yeah, they were all fun. Let me tell you, we had a good time doing them all.
Heck yeah, man. Well, dude, so we have another viewer question here that is from Fish Whisperer Aunt. I might have butchered your name. I apologize. But it says, ask Randy how he feels about Barb's scallop potatoes. I don't know where this is coming from.
Well, that's another good. He thinks that Barb's scallop potatoes are barbed, so that's a 4-letter word that begins with an F. So I guess she just didn't cook them quite enough, right? But otherwise, Barb got Randy off the streets, so you saw it in the Christmas episode. So I was, trying to make some money, at a drive-through with some cheeseburgers of Smoky, and as I was a little elf, but she brought me home to feed me some cheeseburgers. That's what you call a nice lady.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, so we have one last one here. We'll feed to you. We'll get back to some fishing talk here. But we have from Luke Mihalich. He's asking, what was your favorite quote from all time from Trailer Park Boys?
I think one of my favorites. I mean, there's so many, but I laughed when we won an award for having one of the best trailer parks out there, and I can remember because we'd be rehearsing the lines and stuff in our trailers and stuff. Me and Mr. Lay, John Dunsworth, in between scenes, but it was where we're members of the IAT, PTP, SAA, TPS. And that's the International Association of Trailer Park Supervisors and Assistant Trailer Park Supervisors. And the fact that he had to memorize that, and he just would break it down into little bits, right? It'd be IAT, PTP, SAA, TPS, and he'd do it over and over and over, and then get to spew it out, right? But those were the things, like getting the scripts and reading them. That you would laugh. So, and then all of a sudden you go to the set and you'd see all the way the sets were designed, and the art department did such a good job. It was better than what you could have imagined when you read the scripts. So you're like, this is a pretty fun job, right? So, yeah. What about you? What's one of your favorites?
Ooh. Oh, geez. That is a great question, because it's hard to, I don't know. It's hard not to recite a lot of what Bubble says, to be quite honest.
Yes.
And there's a couple of them that we can't say on here.
Right. Yeah. He does when he gets upset. He refers to some roosters and different things. Yes. Yeah, that's for sure. And Ricky can go off the handle, right? He's definitely got a problem.
Yeah,
He peed on one of my pairs of shoes, ruined a perfectly good pair of shoes. I don't know. That's terrible. He's got to change his diet. I couldn't get the stink out. It's just terrible.
I had to imagine there was quite some shenanigans going on behind the scenes with you guys.
There's always shenanigans. That's what kept us laughing along the way.
Yeah, every time, like one of my favorite scenes ever, like I think I saw it on YouTube the first time, was when Bubbles was like comparing himself to Wayne Gretzky. It's a great one.
Yeah. The great one, exactly.
Oh man, it's like 8 minutes of just pure joy. It's so good.
Yeah.
And Alex Lifeson from Rush too. He was a gem of a man. Big fan of the show. You know, he was such a fun guy to hack around and act with. You know, so hard to believe. As a young fella, I went to the Rush concert, and a few years later, then I'm getting to meet Alex, and we're at the same venue that he did the concert, except he's playing all those iconic Rush tunes right in front of me on the guitar. I'm just like, what is going on? This is weird. Life is strange, you know. So.
We have Chuck Fish that says, "I still call raccoons raycons."
Yeah, I know. And Ricky calls deer deerts. It's the Rakins, yeah. Man. Yeah, and he's always messing up the sayings, like "I told you so" instead of "I told you so." You know, he's just definitely. See, Ricky's got his grade 10. But Randy has his grade 11, so that's a little bit more.
Heck yeah. There's so many good ones though. It's so hard to pick like one quote that's good, because honestly, the way you guys simply just say and come across, and how like the style of in which it was filmed, I feel like the time that it was produced, I feel like resonated with people when it seemed to me, and granted, I have no credentials whatsoever when it comes to film or production, nothing. But I'm saying from the outside as a fan looking in, when it seemed like movies were trying to increase in production quality, and then you have this where it looks almost like you guys filmed it on an iPhone 5. Like, I think that added to just the humor quality. It's just like everything you say, it'd be so simple, but it'd just be hilarious.
That's the whole thing. It's supposed to, I guess, look like Cops, the television show Cops, but from the criminal point of view, you know. Yeah. So, and it was tough because, as you know, technology, it changes. The cameras get better. Like in the beginning, we were using cameras that used videotape, but then all of a sudden, you go digital, and it's like now you're in 4K, and oh man, I'm telling you, it's unbelievable how good technology is. But those old days, they were just, I say it was sort of almost like guerrilla camera work, you know, and it was a ton of fun, and made it real, and made some people thought it was real, you know, they actually thought that I really were living in a trailer park and that. But we actually later on met people that did live in sheds, and you know, and cars and things. You know, it's just the way it goes. Like it's sometimes that's life, right? And it's but and over the years we've shot in many trailer parks, and some of the citizens that we met, they might have been just as crazy as our characters, some of them, you know. And
imagine that.
Other ones were nice. I mean, everyone's nice, but I mean, I'm just saying, it's you never know what you're gonna get, right? That's the way it goes.
Yeah. We got people in the comments now reciting their favorite quotes from Trailer Park Boys. So keep them going, people, because we're thoroughly enjoying watching this roll in. So we got J-Rock saying, "I'm mowing the air, Rand. I'm mowing the air."
That's right. That's a Mr. Ray. I'm mowing the air, right? Or
I think the one my college buddies and I recited the most was the one with Bubbles, where it's I ain't never been so frisky before in my whole life. Just at random times, my buddies would sneak that out there, and
and then grunt,
Yep.
just do some of those, right? That's good, yeah. And I mean, Ray, way she goes, and then he'd throw in a few curse words, but that's just some of those things, right?
Awesome.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
awesome. Well, man, I really want to say I'm one, obviously being the fan, but watching this fishing journey that you're on, I think has been incredible to watch, and it's continuing to grow, which has been super cool. And bummed that I know for folks who are tuning in, obviously might not have an idea, but on the back end through work stuff, we actually had a trip originally planned together to go down and fish with Ugly Stick, actually, and unfortunately that fell through. But it's cool to see some of the different attention that's coming through, and you bring in some more of, I would say, from a bass fishing standpoint right now, Pat, it's a wild time, especially when we're talking about pro bass fishing, because all the talk has been technology and these crazy expensive products and things like that. And there's certainly been a lot too much of bickering. And I think you bring a refreshing voice to the community right now. Somebody that just simply loves to go out and just enjoy themselves, because fishing for what's fishing about. And I appreciate that, sir. So I thank you.
Oh, hey, my pleasure. Well, that's just it. Is if you haven't tried fishing, I recommend for everyone to try it. And you can go to any big fishing store, or you can just talk to any anglers out there. They'll give you some tips and advice on what to do, and how to have some fun, because there's nothing like it when you feel that little tug on your fishing rod, that little bite on the end of your line, and then when you get one. I just love seeing, like, even my little kids when they were little, and they would catch a fish, like the excitement. And, like, I still have my friends who've got some younger children. They bring them down and just fish off the dock down at the cottage. And I'm lucky enough to be able to catch some fish, after trying. And it's very exciting. And I mean, that's what I would like to do too on this journey, which is kind of neat. Is I am disappointed that we didn't get to go down to South Carolina, but like that darn old hurricane, like, just unbelievable, Mother Nature, and to hear you, I think you said you raised $8,000. Did you? Is that true?
Yeah, that was
For-
last week on Thursday, and credit goes to our buddy, Mr. Alex Rudd. He was the brainchild of all that, and it's a lot of his doing, and it was pretty cool to be a part of it. But yeah, $8,000 plus
That's great.
those
That's
kids
just
down there,
great,
man.
because it's on the east coast of Canada, we have been hit by these hurricanes, and you lose power, and until you go through some of it, like, Mother Nature, yeah, it can be powerful, and you definitely have to prepare for such things. But anyway, I was looking forward to going and catching some, or trying to catch some catfish. That would have been really, really neat, because I do, after talking to all these anglers. I recently went to this tournament in New Brunswick. It was the PanAm
Yeah.
Black Bass Championships, and where I met, well, your guest Cooper. I met him. What a nice guy. And Gussie, and just, I met, everyone was so nice. But just to hear the different stories, and, oh, you should come here, and come up to this Miramichi River and catch some stripers when they're going, and I'm going and do some ice fishing. I've never ice fished, so it's, if you got the right gear, if you got your long johns and you got the right protective clothing, you don't want to be wet or cold. That's for sure. That's something that can make you miserable. But I would like to try to catch some of these bigger fish. I never caught a walleye, and I've never, I have caught a pike. I was up on Great Slave Lake, Yellowknife, and I was there with Mr. Leahy. We did a festival up there, and went out with the editor of the newspaper out on his boat. And I mean, that just such a big fish. I'm just used to catching the little ones, little smallmouth. And sometimes I did catch I guess it was I think it was a 19-inch smallmouth bass, which is pretty big for the little lakes that I'm
Oh
in.
yeah.
And that's, of course, seems like you catch bigger ones in the fall and and spring. I'm not sure if that's true or not, but for me, that
Yeah,
seems to
definitely.
be when all of a sudden I might get some. But I just like trying to catch them all, you know. So this
Yeah.
whole fishing journey has been great for that because you know, and thank goodness my wife said you should put some fishing stuff up on your Instagram because you know so many friends we doubled the following. My following, you know, the trailer park fans are so great. I had just over 100,000 followers. Now it's up over 200,000 now, and it's the anglers out there, and everyone gives advice from how to get your motor started or you know what you
Yeah.
should be using, and they take notice of certain things, and you know, and but I must say the comments have been pretty good. Like they've been, you know, the internet could be a little bit mean sometimes, but my
That's for
friends
sure.
seem to be pretty nice, which is I'm very happy about that. That warms my heart. But it's been a great journey. So uh, I just can't believe it's so many people are interested in my hobby or seeing me do my hobby. You know,
Yeah.
it's flattering, right? So.
What's your goal with it, Pat? Like, what are you trying to? Where are you trying to take this thing?
Well, like really, when looking at it, I just wanted to show everyone my joy of fishing and how much fun it can be, and also that it's you don't always have to be catching the fish. It's like it's just being out on a boat, and I've been out on that little tinner boat since I was 10 years old, and you know, and then got my you had to get your personal watercraft license and all those different things, and I recommend that anyone to be doing that anyway. But it's just you can just have so much fun in our outdoors and nature. I mean, when you're getting out, you see the osprey out there diving and catching fish, and you have some bald eagles, and you know, and one thing is I get out there on the boat, like what I've been doing is I started a YouTube at Pat Roach Official. So I've just put me, you know, I'm fishing on the boat on Mondays. I put that on the boat with Pat Roach, and you know, sometimes you will see me catch a fish, and or I'll tell a story or just answer some fan questions like doing right here, and you know, maybe do a little live, you know, and everyone appreciates it, and doing little fishtail Fridays where I tell little stories about, you know, maybe some trailer park stories, or again starting fishing, whatever it may be. It's just a little bit of positivity for everyone, and that's really what I'm trying to do. And I'm shocked because I'm getting sent lures and different things. Like I find that anglers are like, you should try this. You know, oh yeah, I see you
Yeah.
using those. You know, you're using some Senko worms. You know, but I'm going to send you this. You know, whatever it may be, and then send you a diagram. Like I tried a Ned rig for my first time. Someone sent me the whole, the whole package of it, and with directions on how to do it. Like it was beautiful, and I caught I don't know 3-4 fish. I really liked it. I thought this is very cool.
Yeah.
So you know, for me, I want to learn more about fishing, but also I want to get out there and try to catch some different species and get out there and you know, enjoy it. And now I've been invited on like a trip in Barbados to go and do some deep sea fishing. I always say I want to go in tropical, go deep sea fishing, but then I do something else, right? You know, so I want to be able to do something like that, and just I'd like to learn how to fly fish, you know, like it's like those are the types of things that looks so nice, well, in the movies, but I hear
I
once
can
you catch
promise
it,
you it's not that nice.
no, okay,
No, no, like shameless plug, right? Like I do fly fishing for steelhead with clients and stuff here around Lake Erie, and I can't tell you how many times I'm dodging lines coming over my head, and people are hooking themselves. It's great.
right, okay, yeah, I can imagine that it would. There's a finesse to it, right? And I've never
Very.
even used a bait caster, right? So that's I just use spinning rods and reels, but I am gonna have to try a bait caster sometime. But you know, I think that it's the fishing, you know, is just such a great sport, And if I could do anything to help promote it and just get people to try, like have some friends that are like, you look like you're having fun fishing. I've never done it. I think I'm going to try. And I say, yes, that's what you should do. And if I can get out and go to a few different locations and get some content to put on Instagram and YouTube and whatnot, even TikTok, it's just, it helps promote fishing, and I find it fun, and you get to meet a lot of really nice people. I must say, it's it's an addiction, and there's people that have it worse than me. And I'm sure you two both, if you haven't thrown in a line for a bit, you start to get the shakes. You're like, you just, there's something about just being out there that makes you feel just like you're on top of the world,
That's it, man, right there. And it's one that's kind of become a lost art for whatever reason. It's just simply being outside. I think it's been refreshing here. I've been watching like throughout the evenings. I just watch kids around the neighborhood that are all preferring to be outside, chasing each other, scraping their knee, running down the sidewalk, getting,
their parents a round of applause at that point, right? Get them outside.
Yeah,
That's right.
Get them out of the house. Don't do get in trouble. Like, the right kind of trouble, of course. But like, watching kids that were playing a little front yard football game, like that's the kind of stuff I feel like is kind of getting lost on us a little bit. But it's going outside, simply going fishing, not just to catch fish, but to actually be outside. Or it's a dad taking, his son or daughter hunting for the first time, not even just to hunt, but just to be out in the woods. Like it's stuff like that is, I feel like, so important to people. And I'm glad you see that as well. And that's a message that you've been, pushing through your platforms, and appreciate the heck out of you for doing that, man. It's been awesome. And I'm really looking forward to keeping up on this fishing journey you're on, man. And I'm hoping we can figure this back out and maybe get you down to Buffalo. We'll treat you some beer, some wings instead of a burger this time. And we'll get you on some big smallmouth.
Oh, definitely. That sounds like a plan. You know what I like? Food, food and fishing.
Beer and fishing.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. I have so many. I still have to catch a largemouth bass. I've never been in an area. There's only one lake that I know of here in Nova Scotia that has them, and I haven't fished it yet. But I'm gonna get there. I will eventually. But yeah, I appreciate you following my journey, and that makes me excited. So thank you for that. It's nice to have you as a fan from Trailer Park Boys, and well, hey, now you're a Pat Roach fan, so you're one of my friends.
Yeah. That's right. That's right. Awesome. Well, Andy, you got anything else for Pat here before we hit him with the last question of the night?
No, you can go ahead and hit him with the last question of the night. My voice is starting to fade out. So
Andy's about to fall asleep on us, I think.
No, I'm not falling asleep. I'm drinking tea, trying to survive. Yeah.
Nice.
Two little kids at home. Yes. They love to get me sick.
Well, Pat, so like the first question we asked, how you got into fishing, the questions that we asked somebody that's brand new to the show, we also have a question we like to end when it's their first time on the show. And that is quite a loaded question. We don't prep you at all for it because it just kind of makes the answering at least fun for us. And that is, if you could invite 3 different individuals to have a steak and a beer, sit down, pick their brain, who would those 3 people be? They could be 1,000 years ago. They could be alive today. Doesn't matter. Doesn't have to even be fishing. What 3 people would you invite to dinner and why?
Wow, that's a really tough question to do to a guy on a night.
Yeah, that's right. That's why there's no prep.
Yeah, no prep.
That's 3 individuals. Well, it's funny because I sit there and I go, I think back and would try to bring back people back to life. Some people, that wouldn't be around. I mean, I would like to have my good old pal John Dunsworth. I would give anything. And I was at work today with JP and Mike, and it's like we talk about John Dunsworth pretty much every day. So I still have in my mind to try to make him proud, because he was the one man who was he was a professional actor, and he helped train all of us because we really didn't know what we were doing. So just to have him back, I would definitely have well, yeah, he liked burgers almost more than me. He did like a good, like he liked McDonald's. He was a big fan, and he liked their apple pies. So I would definitely have him. But you know, someone I think it would be pretty cool to have a beer with Norm from Cheers, because that guy seems to really know beer, and it would be just great to go, Norm, and then he'd be like, yeah, give me a beer, Patty, right? So I don't know if you guys know Norm from Cheers, but that would be, that would be pretty stellar, right?
Just know everybody knows your name, right?
Yeah, that's right. And right now I'm from Canada. I'm not sure if you've ever heard of a band called the Tragically Hip.
Rest in peace.
Yes, I would like, and I've met Gord Downey a couple of times. He's been on the show, but I didn't really get to spend a lot of time with him. And now I'd be like, that would be one gentleman who I'd love to learn a little bit, because he had such a good heart. He did so much for music in Canada. So I'm not sure. Did I give you three? Yeah, there you go. The three. There's three. They might change tomorrow. I don't know.
They usually change right after the show. That's what I love about the
Right.
questions. We get the message of, oh crap, I should have said so and so, and I don't know, it's a cool question. We like that we don't do prep on purpose, because it usually allows you to kind of think on the spot, but then it makes you kind of think about it a little bit longer. At least that's what we like to see happen, is you think about that. Who would, it kind of almost gives you an instinctual, who are your heroes? Who are the people that are important to you? So there's so many different ways to approach that question. So that's why we love it.
That's right. That's a tough one. I like it though. I like it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Pat, man, thank you so much for taking time out. Again, we were talking about earlier, we're big fans of the show, and big fans now that you're on the fishing journey, and we're going to keep up with it. You always got a seat on the show, and man, we got to get you down here, Buffalo.
Definitely. Well, thanks a lot for having me, and it's been a pleasure, and I hope to get down there. That's I'm not. You might regret saying that. I might come and invade you.
That's fine.
That's fine. Let her rip. There's not much to do in Buffalo, so bring it on.
Besides catch smallmouth, we could even catch you a largemouth if you came at the right time without leaving the lake. And we can eat a lot of chicken wings, beef on weck. If you've ever had a beef on weck, it's another big thing here. And the beer's good. Yeah.
Nice. Okay. Yeah. Well, these things are all making me very thirsty and hungry.
Yeah. Love it. Well, Pat, thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining the show. Appreciate you, and we'll be talking to you real soon.
Thanks a lot. Good talking to you.
All right, Pat, we'll see you. There you have it, folks. Mr. Pat Roach. That was great. It's my college buddies definitely will be jealous that we had Mr. Pat Roach here on the show, but just incredible. I like to see. I mean, you got The Rock, you got Lucas Black, you got. I'm trying to list off all celebrities that are into fishing. Dion, of course. I mean, you got so many of them. It's cool to see that crossover, and I think in a world like that, that's what really helps get some entry level people into fishing. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like it's cool to see that that translation there, and it's just different avenues of ways that we can grow the sport in ways that we don't really. We get so caught up in this bass fishing sport and being, again, like our name, serious angler, right? It's sometimes we neglect the very simple parts of fishing that are our roots. Is the grab one rod and go fish a pond. It's the the very simple aspect of it. Taking a little micro spinning rod with a grasshopper topwater and going down to a local creek. Fun. Stuff like that. That's just we want to incorporate a little bit more here on the show. Obviously, we love bass fishing. We're always going to be bass fishing first, but doesn't hurt to have some fun on this show and kind of embrace more of that universal walks of fishing here. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that. We sure did. And before we exit here tonight, for you guys tuning in for next week, we have a double header for you guys. We have two guests at one time. We're not going to have back-to-back guests. We'll have one show next week that is strictly with 2 guests, and that is Mr. Josh Bertrand and Justin Lucas. So we're going to be getting in some finesse and hammers. So we'll be talking that. I mean, Lucas has been hammering them on a Swamp Lord on Gunnersville, frogging. Obviously, we'll be coming off of the U.S. Open with Bertrand. We'll have a bunch of stuff to talk to. So, I mean, great show.
That might be a good one to run the Live Scope charity event.
We could very well run the Live Scope charity event for that one. Sweet. That's $2 more in there, Andy. Attaboy. We got to keep working these babies in.
Yes. I'm up to 5.
We're up to $36 in the night. $36 in the night for the coop.
That's a good night.
It is. We'll have to run that gauntlet. But yeah, a lot of stuff coming up in the week following. We'll have Bryant Smith on. So great episodes coming up where we try to incorporate some more people that aren't just pro anglers too, but people that are very avid in the space that can teach a lot of stuff and have a good time doing it. So that's what the show is all about. And we want to keep embracing that here as we go into getting closer and closer to 2025. Just wild how fast this year has flown by.
It goes faster every year.
It seems, it definitely seems that way. Well, for folks tuning in, you guys know we like to give you guys the updates on the sales and different things you can take advantage of. So before we let you go, right now at Omnia Fishing, there is 20% off all ball head and swim bait jig heads. 20% on all of them. So you guys, there's a link down below to Omnia as well as Omnia Premium Pro, whichever one will take you to Omnia. And you can see those sales up above. Make sure you guys incorporate. If there's anything else that's not on sale that you're buying, make sure you use code Series 10, save yourself 10% off. That way you guys are saving as much dollars as you can. And if you're a pro member, I mean, you're saving even more because you're getting 10% of that total order back to your account to go use on further tackle. But also there's 20% off Berkeley Powerbait Max Scent soft baits. So all Max Scent right now is 20% off. I'm looking at you, Mr. Berkeley Flatworm, for all my smallmouth people. Sugar Craws, all of it. 50 or 20% off, right, meow. And lastly, flash sale, 20% off all Untamed tackle products. There's a lot of stuff going around. They're doing a lot. They're always doing a lot over at Omnia.
Those Untamed jigs are pretty nice.
Yes. Very nice. But Andy, it's an awesome show tonight. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. Looking forward to another Tuesday Night Live next week. But I think without further ado, Andy, is there anything else we're forgetting? I think
not at this moment. I don't believe.
Yeah. Well, folks, you guys are awesome. Appreciate it, each and every one of you guys. Hopefully, you guys can get out, whether you're hunting, fishing this week. Stay safe. Enjoy being outside, and we'll see y'all on the next one.